Bring it on, bring it on. You, bring it on. You,
life know the sweet though, eh? If some people know they hate you, so use the number 6 so and calculate, you go see the ratio. The beef self na me yo, whether na asu them relate to. So bring your own crayfish oh, we go mix so, oh la. Shane and them talk say we no go blow.
On behalf of the Vice Chancellor of our university, the first and the best university in Nigeria, the University of Ibadan, Professor Kayode Oyebode Adebowale, MNIFS, I want to warmly welcome you to this 18th annual conference of the Zoological Society of Nigeria. I thought you were going to put your hands together because you are part of it this year. The theme of this conference is Healthy Ecosystems, Path of Productivity and Sustainability. And this is just the opening ceremony. We're going to have the plenary sessions at the Faculty of Science Lakeside Lecture Theatre of our university. It's on that note, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to be inviting to give the first remark, because the first remark here today should be delivered by the Vice Chancellor. We'll take that upon his arrival. But we are going to, before the Vice Chancellor's remark, we are to be welcome to this conference, and no other person is qualified to do that than the National President of the Zoological Society of Nigeria. Please join me to welcome Professor A.B. Odaibo, ZSN, SN, and FSAN to give the welcome address. Please don't stop clapping until we get to Professor Odaibo.
It is my pleasure to welcome you all to the 18th Zoological Society annual conference holding here in the University of Ibadan. Let me preface my address with an expression of gratitude on behalf of the Council and members of the Zoological Society of Nigeria to the Vice Chancellor, University of Ibadan, Professor K.O. Adebowale, FAS, FRSC, MNI, for granting the Department of Zoology, University of Ibadan permission to host this meeting. And I want to put on record that this will be the fourth time the University of Ibadan will be hosting the ZSN conference. Our first time in this premier university was in 2003, when we had our premier annual conference as a young society, founded just in 2002, which by all measures was a huge success, laying solid foundation for subsequent conferences. From the early deliberations, since our arrival for this conference, one can predict that this 18th annual conference will be greater than any we have ever had. Thank you, Mr. Vice Chancellor. I should wish you a successful, fulfilling tenure. I also bring greetings from the Council of the Zoological Society of Nigeria to the head of the department, University of Ibadan, who incidentally is also the chairperson of the local organizing committee of this conference, Professor Ainoabo Adeo, FAS, the faculty and students of the Department of Zoology, University of Ibadan, for accepting to host this conference. I am confident that the conference will have a high scientific and social impact, and it will remain a memorable experience for all participants. It is therefore very important for me to appreciate our keynote speakers, Professor Christian Happy, the Director of African Center of Excellence for Genomic Infectious Diseases of Redeemer University, Ede, Osun State, and Professor Bernard Bolade Babatunde, the Special Assistant to the Secretary to the Government of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, for coming to share their thoughts and experiences with us at this conference. It is my delight to inform the audience that the two keynote speakers are veritable products of this great university.
Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we're going to have a word from the chairperson of the local organizing committee of this conference. Join me to welcome Professor Aina Adiogun, FAS, as she comes to do that.
Today, I am happy to also welcome the Executive Council of the Zoological Society of Nigeria to Ibadan, the premier and the preeminent university. The fellows and those who will be fellows of today. Our keynote and plenary speakers, the uniqueness of this conference is that we are showcasing our own. From the wife of the Ogun State government, who is an alumna of the Department of Zoology, University of Ibadan, to the distinguished keynote speakers, Professor Bernard Babatunde, who was my student, and doing well on the national scale now as the people in power. To Professor Christian Happy, who put Nigeria on the map during the COVID-19 pandemic. When the world thought that Africans were going to be dropping on the road, we surprised them, we didn't drop. You know, we have our own anti-COVID. And he brought the science into what we were doing and showcased that science is universal and can be done anywhere with commendable results. Then I want to especially recognize the UI Zoology alumni. They have been very supportive. All members of the Department of Zoology, LOC, and the gentlemen of the press, and ladies and gentlemen participants. On behalf of the Executive Committee of the Zoological Society of Nigeria, especially the local organizing committee, faculty in the Department of Zoology, our staff, and our students, I welcome you all to the 18th Zoological Society of Nigeria Conference at the premier and preeminent University of Ibadan. Zoology started in 1948 along with the university. And since the establishment of this society, it has grown in leaps and bounds. And it has contributed significantly to unraveling nature's unique biodiversity. I am particularly delighted by the impressive number of abstracts that we received from within and outside Nigeria following an announcement called for papers. It's a multidisciplinary program that we put up from all the sub-teams that addresses different areas of biological sciences and the concepts and context of science in a multidisciplinary world, shows the extensive reach that this conference has had. As at this morning, we have had about 330 abstracts, the largest in Zoological Society of Nigeria conference so far. If it is not Ibadan, it cannot be like Ibadan. The theme for this conference, Health Ecosystems, Paths to Productivity and Sustainability, was carefully crafted, and I want to thank the LOC for this job. And the sub-teams too, they show that science is found in every research, and every research showcases science. And it also addresses the delicate influence that a vibrant ecosystem can have on sustaining species diversity.
We are going into the keynote address, but before the
Professor Babatunde Bolaji Bernard is a distinguished scholar and the first professor of radioecology and environmental biology in Africa. He has been a member of the academic staff of the University of Port Harcourt since 2007, where he has served with excellence in both teaching and extensive administrative capacities, including head of department and several institutional committees. He has taught at the University of Leeds in the United Kingdom, as well as at Igbenedion University, Okada, Edo State. Professor Babatunde is also recognized globally as a United Nations expert scientist in nuclear analytical techniques for the peaceful application of atomic science. Born on 14 February 1972 in Boko, Benue State, he hails from Oton Ayegbaju in Boluwaduro local government area of Osun State. He began his early education at Ngbagu LGA Primary School in Boko and proceeded to Uday Comprehensive Secondary School, Benue State for his secondary education. He earned his BSc in Zoology and MSc in Ecology and Environmental Biology from the University of Ibadan in 2000 and 2003, respectively. He later obtained his PhD from the University of Port Harcourt, completing his benchwork at Lancaster University, United Kingdom, through a split-site Commonwealth scholarship. His doctoral research focused on nuclear analytical techniques for radiometric assessment of radioactivity in sediments and fish from the Boni and Bodo estuaries in River State, Nigeria. Professor Babatunde has received international grants twice from the International Foundation for Science, IFS, Sweden, and has undergone extensive training through the International Atomic Energy Agency, IAEA, in several offshore laboratories around the world. He serves as Technical Director for the IAEA FGN Technical Cooperation Projects, covering broad areas of environmental monitoring, nuclear analytical applications, marine pollution studies, seafood safety and sediment dating along Nigeria's 853-kilometer coastline. He is also trained in ISO 17025 laboratory quality control and assurance and has participated in several UN intercomparison exercises, achieving a 100% standard deviation score. A prolific researcher, he has published in high-impact Elsevier journals and serves as a reviewer for numerous reputable international publications. His expertise has earned him roles as an expert consultant lecturer for the IAEA United Nations in multiple countries. Professor Babatunde has also contributed significantly to national development. He served as Special Technical Advisor to the Honorable Minister of Special Duties and Intergovernmental Affairs during the Buhari administration and currently serves as Special Advisor Technical to the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Distinguished Senator George Akume. He is a member of several professional bodies including Nigerian Institute of Management, MNIM, Fellow Institute of Environmental Management and Assessment, FIEMA, Fellow ECDSERMI, Member Nigerian Nuclear Regulatory Professionals, MNREP, Member WASOT, GTAN, NES and SOT, among others. Professor Babatunde is married to Dr. Tolulokpe Amina Babatunde and they are blessed with 3 children, Temitope Doshima, Deborah Olajumoke Doso Esther, and Oriman David Bolaji Jr. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests and esteemed delegates, it is my utmost privilege to present to you the keynote speaker of the 18th Annual Conference of the Zoological Society of Nigeria, ZSN, Professor Babatunde Bolaji Bernard, Special Advisor to the Secretary to the Government of the Federation.
I'll try to make my keynote presentation with this topic in 30 minutes. And I hope I'll be able to pass the message across. Sustainable ecosystem resource use, a panacea to ecosystem health, without which we will not be healthy ourselves. It's very straightforward, and it's not about the science, it's not magic, but it will amount to shooting ourselves in the foot. or biting the finger that is feeding us if we do not take care of the ecosystems. I will try to help us with these takeaways and probably arrive at why we need the sustainability concept, why we have to utilize these resources in a manner that tomorrow's people can have access to. Even we can continue to have access to it. For the primary reasons, this is an ISO 1401 definition of environment, in which the surrounding in which an organism operates, including air, water, land, everything that is around it and keeps it alive, amounts to its environment. It can be as little as where I'm standing, as huge as where you are, the entire world, or an ecosystem, or even just a cup of water and a bacteria or an algae found itself in there. This is just, I'm going back again, like I say, I just want to stir us up to remember, sometimes we get very comfortable flying, driving, eating, partying, and we don't even remember how those things came about. The natural cycles, what we call the biogeochemical cycles and the ecological systems of the world, working hand in hand to make this place habitable. We can breathe air, we would know the source, the water cycles, the carbon cycles, and every nutrient cycling things that are going around to make sure the environment is regulated. We continue to have food, we continue to have fresh water, and so on and so forth. This would have been a very perfect sustainability concept or a sustainable environment where we are talking about the biogeochemical cycles, the upper two cycles. You can see the relationship between them. It's very smooth. Nutrient cycling, regulation, and so on between the biological and the physical environment. That relationship existed a long time before man came into being. So typically what I'm saying is this too can go on without man. The two cycles up there existed millions of years, if not billions, before man was here. And they were doing fine. And when man arrived, you will see just in one of my presentations now that he was given an instruction which he never understood till today. So the relationship between man, the third cycle, and the rest of the other two, it's broken. It's never faithful because man never appreciated the source of his living in the first place. So we will continue to look at this, but not in details. I will keep scratching as we go. Natural cycles and the ecological systems, the biochemical cycles, the biodiversity fundamentals are all interconnected drivers of the ecosystem services, which we know where we derive our living from. The biogeochemical cycles provide essential chemicals flow and nutrient availability, while the biodiversity, especially the functional diversity of the organisms, they perform the specific biological processes, photosynthesis, decomposition, and so on and so forth. During the photosynthesis, almost everyone, in this conference should understand how this works and how the nutrients are recycled after putrefaction. So that makes cycles, and the services we have possible. Biodiversity and the ecological stability. It's important that we have that. The biodiversity referring to a variety and abundance of species, that's genetic, composition, and ecological systems where they live. This is key. Biodiversity, this collective diversity of biological entities, is the heritage for the future.
We are going to have the rapporteur and the chairman take up the platform in a minute, but After that, we are going to just listen to Professor Augustine Arukwe. He's going to be joining us virtually. So it's my delight to welcome the rapporteur for this particular session. Thank you.
Professor Babatunde, in about 30 minutes, highlighted the importance of management of the environment. He reminded us that the way we are going, the earth will not last another 1,000 years. And he also emphasized the importance of natural cycles and the fact that the number of the ecosystem services that we get as humans that keeps us alive, that sustain the environment, is provided by the biodiversity that drives these natural cycles. He also reminded us of the divine instruction that our Creator did not just tell us to dominate, but he also emphasized the fact of the need for us to replenish. And that means when we take, we are supposed to replace. And the fact that we have not been observing that. He also provided sustainability concepts and the fact that there is need for us to build environmental management practices into several activities, including procurement processes which we use. He also explained to us the concept of environmental management systems.
It's a great pleasure to be the chairperson for this session. And the Zoological Society of Nigeria has actually appointed something so vital and so important for the survival not of this country but of mankind. I therefore want to congratulate the Zoological Society of Nigeria for choosing this topic, health for the ecosystem or ecosystem health. Things are going on very slowly for us. Daily we go around, buy food, drive around, comfortably. Without any cost to anything, we are just moving, we are just enjoying ourselves. But what our Professor Babatunde has highlighted by the board has highlighted the danger we are facing. Not today, not tomorrow, not 10 years time, not 400 years time, but far more into the future. If we refuse to take care of our environment, luckily, I have participated exceptionally in ECHO in environmental impact assessment study throughout this country. Moving through the entire coast of Nigeria, traveling all the nooks and corners of Nigeria, both in the south, from Lagos to Abuja, from Lagos to Ibadan to Borno, from Ibadan to Jigawa, to Kebbi to Sokoto states. I can claim to know virtually the ecological terrain of this country.
Previously, I announced the second finish address to be delivered by
Professor Christian T. Happy is a distinguished professor of molecular biology and genomics and the director of the Institute of Genomics and Global Health, IGH, at Redeemers University, Ede, Nigeria. A leading global authority in infectious disease genomics, Professor Happy has built an illustrious career defined by groundbreaking scientific contributions, transformative leadership, and an unwavering commitment to strengthening Africa's health security architecture. He earned his PhD from the University of Ibadan in 2000 and proceeded to the prestigious Harvard University for his postdoctoral fellowship, which he completed between 2000 and 2003. He later served at the Harvard School of Public Health as a research scientist from 2004 to 2007 and as an adjunct professor from 2004 to 2011. Professor Happy continues to maintain strong academic ties with Harvard, serving as an adjunct professor in the Department of Immunology and Infectious Diseases, Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health, Boston. He is also a visiting professor in the Department of Organismic and Evolutionary Biology of Harvard University, Cambridge, Massachusetts. Professor Happy's research spans the genomics of infectious diseases, including malaria, Lassa fever, Ebola virus disease, monkeypox, yellow fever, HIV, COVID-19, and Marburg virus, as well as human genomics. He has authored more than 230 peer-reviewed publications in highly respected international journals. His scientific impact is reflected in more than 33,000 citations and an H index of 55, underscoring his influence in global health research. Through support from numerous international funding agencies, Professor Happy established two of Africa's most advanced genomics institutions, the African Center of Excellence for Genomics of Infectious Diseases, ACEGID, and the Institute of Genomics and Global Health, IGH. These platforms have positioned Africa as an active contributor to global pathogen surveillance. Under his leadership, genomic sequencing capacity has been extended to 42 African countries, and more than 3,000 young scientists from 53 African nations have received world-class training, making his work one of the continent's most impactful scientific capacity-building efforts. In recognition of his visionary contributions to research, capacity development, and global health leadership, Professor Happy has received numerous prestigious honors and distinctions. These include Time 100, one of the 100 most influential people in the world, 2025. Time 100 Health, one of the most influential people in global health, 2025. 2021 Al Sumait Prize for African Development, KFAS. 2021 Nigerian Academy of Science Gold Medal Prize. 2020 Bailey K. Ashford Medal, ASTMH. 2019 Human Genome Organization, Hugo Africa Prize. Merle A. Sunday Health Leadership Award, 2011. He is a Fellow of the Nigerian Academy of Science, FAS, the Academy of Medical Specialties of Nigeria, FAMS, the African Academy of Sciences, FAAS, and he's a member of the highly prestigious U.S. National Academy of Medicine, NAM, one of the highest professional honors in global health and medicine. Professor Christian Happy stands today as a scientist of extraordinary distinction, a mentor to a generation of researchers, and a visionary leader whose work continues to shape the scientific and public health landscape of Africa and the world. Ladies and gentlemen, invited guests, and distinguished delegates, it is my honor and privilege to present to you the keynote speaker of the 18th Annual Conference of the Zoological Society of Nigeria, ZSN, Professor Christian Happy, the Director of the Institute of Genomics and Global Health, IGH.
Standing before you very humbly and before our topic, well, I was a graduate student in the Department of Zoology. I want to thank you, all of yourselves, for your contribution in my life and in my development. So I do have the privilege to share with you today a bit of a snippet of some of the work that I've been doing in the space of infectious disease and how we use genomics as a way to help understand disease outbreaks and contain those outbreaks in West Africa. But this program is spread across the continent and it has become pretty much a global program. In so doing, we were basically, the goal was to actually create or start building the next, developing the next generation of African pathogen hunters. Doing it in the dead roads, doing it in the bushes, in the nooks and crannies, and building how to detect this pathogen, characterize it, and create diagnostics before it comes to us. That is pretty much being ahead of the curve, instead of being behind the curve. And when we set up this platform, we actually had our first test in 2014. We're barely 6 months in existence with resources from the World Bank and the USNIH. We deployed, we established a center, and then we actually had what I call a baptism of fire. Within 6 months, we had the largest Ebola outbreak in West Africa, but then that provided an opportunity to create and innovate and to demonstrate what we were capable of doing. March 2014, we had the Ebola outbreak identified or spreading across West Africa, where we gathered here, as you see over, if you see there, we gathered in Ireland, and then we were basically just trying to see what we can do. But we deployed a method, this method that I described to you, in Sierra Leone, where the virus was spreading like a tidal wave. We did the first whole genome sequence in 2014. Genomic was not a science that was so popular, it wasn't a science that people got to know about, but we actually innovated by actually deploying genomic sequencing in the continent of Africa, and that was the first time we're doing sequencing on the continent, whole genome sequencing. We sequenced the first 99 genomes of the Ebola virus, and then we also did the second thing that was really novel. We made this data openly available to the rest of the world for them to use, for the world to use to create diagnostics, vaccines, and drugs and therapies. And that, in that way, we're actually pioneering a second pillar, which is open data sharing, open data access. The third thing we did was accelerating this process, that is cutting down the time from sample collection to submitting the data in GenBank. And we actually made all these papers, made all this possible, and the world took advantage. The third thing we did is, as you see on the diagram, over time, by July 16, we noticed one particular variant in Sierra Leone has taken over. And the question was, why was this variant spreading much more faster than others? And through spreading fast, we realized that also increased the number of deaths. And you could look at the situation in the different countries where that variant was circulating. Number of cases going up, number of deaths also increasing. But through genomic sequencing and functional analysis, we established that we had 375 mutations in the virus. 27 of them were fixated around the RADP gene, and then through functional analysis we realized that those mutations were associated with increased transmissibility and eventually increased number of deaths. So that was a discovery for the first time of the concept of variants of concern that you all heard during COVID-19. So we found that, looking at the wild type and then the mutant, you realize that because of those mutations, the virus has the ability to penetrate many more cells, and it was more lethal and kill more people. So increase the number of deaths because of a variant that is transmitting fast. The fourth thing we did was actually to bring in the concept of translational genomics. That is going from genome sequences to create the very first rapid diagnostic test that was approved by the WHO and then the US FDA under emergency use authorization. So the introduction of that rapid diagnostic test actually changed the trajectory of the epidemic. Imagine doing a PCR that, because of backlog, would take 72 hours, 96 hours. Going from that time to making a test that could actually be, that enable you to detect the virus within 5 minutes. When that test was introduced, that actually became a game changer. And that we started seeing the epidemic coming down because the doctors could triage people and then that would help. But most importantly is the fact that through here, what you see there is outbreak reconstruction. So through this, we're able to show clearly that you could use genomic as a way to guide public health response. But most important, I don't know what's going on with this. For me, this is what I believe the most important thing. This is Redemption Camp, 2014, July 20. 3 million people gathered. My lab was just about 2 minutes from here. I took this picture. During an Ebola outbreak, I was very scared. Because when I look at this crowd, what was coming in my mind was what will happen if you have in this crowd just a few people that had Ebola. And I recommended to the general overseer that they should stop these gatherings. He heeded, we stopped the gatherings, but because we were very worried. A few days after that, I was called late in the night to go to the lab that there was a suspected patient in Lagos. I traveled down to Lagos and we will actually confirm that case within hours. And Nigeria came out of it on top of the world. We showed people how speed, accuracy, and low cost can change the trajectory of an epidemic. Within days, we had a full genome of this virus. Within days, we told the government what to do, and by day 42, we had cleared the number of cases of virus with infections. Imagine a country of 230 million people with an outbreak emerging in a city like Lagos, 23 million people. Nigeria showed the world how to do things right. We ended up with only 20 cases and 8 dead. This was the first demonstration how this system works. And I always tell people, to beat an outbreak or beat an epidemic or a pandemic, you need 3 things. The first thing is speed, your speed of execution. The second thing is accuracy. You've got to be accurate in the way you do things. And the third thing is cost of execution. So, and this table shows you, or this diagram shows you, the cost for the number of cases and death because of the application of this technology between Nigeria, who had only 8 cases, and the rest of West Africa with 11,000 cases. That was the first demonstration that the approach works. And this diagram gives you a sense of number of deaths, if you see that diagram. That's the case of in orange, when you don't apply this approach. And in the case of Nigeria in red, when you apply this approach, and you see the difference. But we went on to apply this to several other diseases. The next I will talk about is a disease called Lassa fever. First reported in Nigeria in 1969. But then between 1969 and 2007, when we took interest in this, there was no molecular diagnosis for this test. Anytime there used to be an outbreak in Nigeria, sample was sent to Germany, and the case fatality rate was 90% all the time.
We're going to have next, after this, I don't know, the chairperson, Professor Mark Wagu, you are the chair of this session. Do you want to say 1 or 2 before we go on to investigation of patrons? Professor Mark Wagu, please clap for Professor Mark Wagu as he comes here to say something. This is the academic great grandson, and the world is a beautiful place. At a stage in life, your children start to take care of you. And that's what we are doing today. So he is sharing the keynote of his academic great-grandson. A round of applause for Professor Martin.
This young man here will never ever forget me. And I will never ever forget him. We go back a long time. I was on a Pottery in 1987. The Genome Project, this year's sequencing of the human genome was just about to start. And the great Watson was to be in charge at an NIH in Bethesda. I wrote him. Say, by 87, there weren't many Africans trained in molecular biology, at least not black Africans south of the Sahara. And I felt I was one of them, so I wrote him. And he replied to say he wasn't quite ready and not in a position to offer me an appointment. Okay, when I continued, I came back, we started the program, and here, he qualified for the PhD, and I came back in 89, probably started in 90, we finished in 91 or so, 92. I think he was he and one other candidate, they were the best in their class and qualified to do a PhD, continuing our work in molecular vaccines, molecular biology, etc. But we didn't have the equipment, the conditions, and the climate for that work. So here, as I said, is a young man, and I'm exceedingly proud of him. And in fact, when I listened to this presentation, I felt like going back to science. I'm a student. Professor Nokis reminded me that I must obey her, but I'm now a student. I am.
Ladies and gentlemen, we go right into the investiture, and only those that are present will be honored.
This section of our meeting today is very important to the society. This is where we honor those who have contributed to zoology in Nigeria and around the world. The society does not issue or give frivolous awards. The last time we had this type of ceremony was in 2018. That will tell you how long it takes for the society to give an award. We take time to select people who are qualified to receive these awards. And incidentally, that also happened in University of Ibadan. And I'm thinking this award is becoming too, how will I say it, tied to University of Ibadan. The next award should be in my own university. Otherwise, I will protest. The first award was supposed to go to the Vice Chancellor of the Premier University of Nigeria, Professor Kayode Oyebode Adebowale. This will be received on his behalf by the Deputy Vice Chancellor of Academics, who is in our midst.
Irony of life. Beautiful, 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 so beautiful.
The best award we go to one of our living ancestors, Professor Solomon Olukayode Fagade.
So beautiful. Life is so beautiful. Yes. Okay. Yes. The world is beautiful. I'm a perfect example. Everything is on you. Life is so beautiful. Beautiful. Beautiful.
So we watched also a similar status, someone who is also our father.
during my master's degree, he supervised my seminar. And it made me look as if I was already a teacher, not a student. He gave me all the attention, which is not unique to me. And that's the way he treats his students. If you walk with him, you feel that you are dealing with your own father, a loving father, not a runaway father.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Love is so beautiful. Beautiful, 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 beautiful. Life is so beautiful.
The next recipient is Professor Babatunde Adewale Idrowu.
Life is so beautiful, so beautiful. Now I'm so joyful because my life is so incredible. Everything around me is so peaceful. Hard times will come, but I will stay hopeful. Those days I was never thoughtful. The mistakes I made are my breakthrough.
So we invite Professor Kombe Lucas Adam. Prof, you're welcome.
I realize the world is so beautiful, so wonderful, so peaceful. Never knew it got things could be so helpful. I learned the hard way, the only way.
At this point, we invite Professor Jacqueline Azome Badaki.
I'm a big artist for Nigeria. Fifth album is on the way. Hey, yeah. I'm so happy. What is so beautiful for me.
So we invite the next awardee, Professor Oyefamichi Fakioye. For the award of the Fellowship of Zoological Society of Nigeria.
The world is beautiful. I'm a perfect example. Everything is on you. Life is so beautiful. It's so beautiful. Beautiful.
Invite the last recipient of the Fellowship of Zoological Society of Nigeria Award today, Professor Mustafa Dogara.
Beautiful, 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 beautiful. Life is so beautiful. Beautiful, 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 beautiful. Life is so beautiful.
I would like to invite the President of the Zoological Society of Nigeria to just address us in 2 minutes.
Now, with today's award, the number of the fellows of the Zoological Society of Nigeria has risen to 48. And on the authority of the Council of the Zoological Society of Nigeria, I hereby establish the College of Fellows of the Zoological Society of Nigeria. And this College of Fellows will be headed by our near Fellow of the Zoological Society of Nigeria, Professor Sonny O'Neill. Thank you very much.
The seas, the stars, the sun, the moon, the moving, reading with you. That's why I'm grateful for all the beautiful things that I see. Your love water, cause water no get any, but water can scatter the whole city. That's why life is beautiful. Cause if there's no dance, then you will not respect life. And I love beautiful fire.
Share them to see us now. We don't the glow. Take a look at me now. Take a look at me now.